The former president, Donald Trump, and a current candidate to return as leader of the free world, so this is very newsworthy and noteworthy this morning, is calling to terminate the Constitution. Seriously. I was actually speechless. I was speechless when I read it.
Watch CNN hypocritically display the virtue signaling audacity to criticize Trump for wanting to terminate the Constitution. It's truly laughable. Hey guys, study after study shows that if you want strong bones and muscles, healthy hair, skin, teeth, and nails, you need the 5 types of collagen in your diet. I get mine from BioTrust. I've got a link in the description with a massive discount, and it'll tell you all about it. Okay, here we have another psychological operation, and the operation is the surgeons of the Communist News Network, or the Counterfeit News Network, also known as CNN, want to pretend and get their viewers to believe that they care about the Constitution while they criticize Donald Trump, who says we need to terminate the Constitution for reasons. And we'll get to that in a second, but first I wanted to say, in my last video, it looks like people walked away with the impression that I believe that the Constitution gives us our rights. I don't believe that at all. The Constitution doesn't give us our rights. The Constitution is supposed to protect rights that we already have. The Declaration of Independence says we have unalienable rights, which means those rights can't be given by anyone and they can't legitimately be taken from you by anyone. So we have these rights because we are human beings. We all have these rights, or none of us has these rights. And how we know, and I don't even know where these rights come from. I mean, you know, the Declaration of Independence says they come from God. A lot of people believe that they come down, you know, from heaven or whatever. I can't prove that. But what I can prove is that we all have these rights. And all you have to do is ask yourself a question. Does anybody have a higher claim over your life and property than you? If the answer is no, then you don't have a higher claim over the life and property of other people. It's always wrong to initiate unjust force and violence on peaceful people who haven't done anything wrong. You don't want violence to come upon you, therefore you don't initiate violence on anyone else. Those are the rights that we're talking about. And maybe it's more specific to say that we don't have the right to intrude on the freedoms of other people. Maybe it'd be more accurate to say that. I like what Privacy Fight says right here in the comment section on my last video. Our rights do not originate from the U.S. Constitution. However, it is intended to prevent the government from intruding upon rights that we already had before the law was adopted. And as Lysander Spooner says, and I agree with him, that Constitution hasn't been protecting us very well. If it was protecting us and it worked, we wouldn't have hundreds, if not thousands, of federal gun laws. We would be able to carry our firearms into federal buildings, into courthouses and post offices, but we can't. Why? Because those people in government, what we know as government, do not respect our rights. And it's real easy. The Second Amendment, let's just talk about one thing, the Second Amendment, 27 words in the Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Which brings us to this video from CNN. They work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, trying to convince you that your rights should be infringed upon for the safety of the public. The safety of the public is always the alibi of tyrants. They will always use some good thing, some good intention to steal your rights away. So they don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about the protections the Constitution is supposed to provide, but they'll criticize Donald Trump for saying we need to suspend the Constitution because they're a bunch of freaking hypocrites. Donald Trump only said the quiet part out loud. When he says we need to terminate the Constitution for reasons, and it doesn't matter what the reasons are, we'll read what the reasons are, is because, you know, what he calls election fraud. Here's the thing that they say they have a beef with, but they don't. Donald Trump said on Truth Social,
So, with the revelation of massive and widespread fraud and deception and working closely with big tech companies, the DNC and the Democrat Party, do you throw the presidential election results of 2020 out and declare the rightful winner? Or do you have a new election? And then he says, a massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for, in other words, it's like, now it's necessary. It's necessary for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. What is necessity? Necessity is the plea for every infringement of human freedoms. It's the argument of tyrants. It's the creed of slaves. Do they have good intentions? Yes, but as Daniel Webster said, good intentions will always be pleaded for every assumption of authority. It's hardly too strong to say that the Constitution was made to guard the people against the dangers of good intentions. There are men in all ages who mean to govern well, but they mean to govern. And what is governing? It's controlling. They mean to control well, but they mean to control you. They promise to be good masters, but they mean to be your masters. And Donald Trump, who has a tyrant's heart, just like Joe Biden has a tyrant's heart, just like the Clintons have tyrant hearts, just like all of mainstream media have tyrant hearts, because they want to initiate unjust force and violence on peaceful people who haven't done anything wrong. They want to take away your rights. Donald Trump wants to do it. CNN wants to do it. MSLSD wants to do it. Joe Biden wants to do it. The Clintons want to do it. Reagan wanted to do it. Remember the assault weapons ban, the original assault weapons ban in the 1960s under then Governor Reagan, for the governor for the state of California. Mr. Republican wanted to infringe upon the individual rights of a person to keep and bear arms because he was freaked out about it's all about public safety. Remember, public safety is always going to be the argument of tyrants. And listen to these freaking hypocrites. Listen to this quadruple psychological operation where they're claiming to be the virtuous ones who love the Constitution. CNN now loves the Constitution so that they can criticize Donald Trump for outright verbalizing what these people live every single day. Listen to this.
President Donald Trump and a current candidate to return as leader of the free world, so this is very newsworthy and noteworthy this morning, is calling to terminate the Constitution. Seriously, the centerpiece of American democracy, in order to overturn the 2020 election.
And they're acting all shocked about this. Oh my God, CNN, such freaking vile, disgusting, perverted hypocrites, are literally going to try to virtue. We love the Constitution. We care about the Constitution. We're sensitized to the Constitution. We're champions of the Constitution. But Donald Trump wants to terminate the Constitution. Well, of course he does. He's a tyrant. And you guys are tyrants. Freaking social engineers.
And be reinstated to power. The job, of course, hinges upon upholding the Constitution, something he swore on when he became president, and something he touted throughout his 4-year term. Let's remind you of that.
Name one single president, name one single congressman, name one single senator outside of Congressman Ron Paul, name one single congressman, senator, politician, governor, I don't care, assistant governor, vice president, that hasn't lived a life of trampling the Constitution that they swore to protect, defend, and uphold. Name one. You can't, because they all do it. They do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They constantly sell out to lobbyists. They constantly create more laws that take away more of our rights and steal more of our money constantly. And mainstream media, the job of the news, the job of the media, the job of the press is to expose the lies of these tyrants and bring them back to square. Bring them back to the starting point of freedom in the Constitution and individual liberties. But they don't do it because they're in bed with the Zio International Banking Cartel.
We're supposed to protect our country, support our Constitution, and protect our Constitution. In this great chamber, we preserve our glorious inheritance, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. As President, I have no higher duty than to defend the laws and the Constitution of the United States. If you believe in justice, if you believe in freedom, if you believe in peace, then you must cherish the principles of our founding and the text of our Constitution. We will support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
When any politician says that, you can 100% put all your money on they will do the exact opposite. What did this guy do right here? Well, because of all these mass shootings, we have to enact the red flag law, the extreme risk protection order, which is a violation of the Second Amendment rights, which basically is, hey, before we see you commit a crime, we're going to go ahead and take your guns because we feel like, because we got a phone call from somebody anonymously, that you're a danger to yourself and to other people. And then he sits next to Dianne Frankenstein, who's rubbing her greedy little hands and saying, Trump says to Mike Pence, I don't know, Mike, I like take the guns first, due process second. So he initiates red flag laws, likes to take the guns first, due process second, has no regard for or respect for the Second Amendment. Do you expect him to have any regard or respect for any of your rights? Do you expect CNN to have regard or respect for any of your individual rights, your freedoms, your liberties as a human being? No, they don't. These guys are all in bed together. This is WWE. This is the dog and pony show smokescreen issue that nobody sees because the left versus right paradigm lie has us pitted against each other, Democrats versus Republicans, and the whole time the banksters and the corporate oligarchs are stripping us of our rights and devaluing our dollar. Which means they're tapping into our time and laboring energies while this dog and pony show is going on. Give them bread and circuses, Voltaire said, and they shall never revolt. And it's true.
We believe in the American Constitution, and we believe in the rule of law. I stand before you today on the heels of a...
You know, if you believed in the Constitution, let's just take the Bill of Rights. Let's just take the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, and the Fourth Amendment. If you just believe those right there, you would not believe in the rule of law, because part of the rule of law is the drug war. And it's not a war on drugs, it's a war on people. You wouldn't buy into gun control, because it's not gun control, it's people control. So if you either believe the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the First, Second, and Fourth Amendment, or you believe in the rule of law, because it can't be both. Most rules, most laws are wicked, evil, cruel, and downright unjust. So it's either one or the other. You either have the right to be secure in your person's houses, papers, and effects, or you're for the drug war, because they're constantly banging down people's doors because they feel like you're growing plants, and they don't want you growing plants.
Tremendous victory for our nation, our people, and our beloved Constitution.
Look at all the people behind him cheering. They actually believe what this psychopath is saying. The followers of Joe Biden actually believe what that psychopath is saying, or Kamala Harris, or any one of the political parasitic psychopaths that rule our country.
Beloved Constitution. House GOP leader Kevin McCarthy could be the next speaker. Hasn't said anything about Trump's calls to terminate the Constitution. At least he hasn't said anything yet. But he has said that on the first day of the Republican-led Congress next year, they will read every single word of the Constitution. Something
as we disregard it, and as we shovel boatloads and pallets of billions, tens of billions of dollars to Ukraine against the wishes of most Americans. As they continue to trample the Constitution, creating more gun regulations and gun restrictions and gun control laws. And that doesn't even scratch the surface, guys. These people are as corrupt as the day is long. So read every single word so that you can turn right around and trample it.
Reminded me of this morning. Joining us now, CNN senior political analyst John Avlon, CNN anchor and correspondent Audie Cornish. Thank you both for being here. I was actually speechless.
You got Avalon, Donald Lamone here, constantly calling for gun control, gun restrictions, take guns away from law-abiding guns. By the way, don't be a law-abider. It's not virtuous to be a law-abider. Be a good, virtuous, decent human being who doesn't want to reach out his hand and initiate unjust force and violence on peaceful people who haven't done anything wrong. But you got John Avalon and Donald Lamone here constantly saying that we need to take AR-15s, AK-47s, high-capacity magazines, which are just standard issue magazines, away from peaceful people who haven't done anything wrong because some psychopath walked into a school or post office and used his tool to off a whole bunch of people. And these people are laughing, looking down their nose in criticism of Donald Trump for saying that we need to terminate the Constitution when they live a life of attempting to terminate the Constitution at every turn.
Was speechless when I read it, and then watching Republicans try to respond to it on the Sunday shows, and some really came out, I think, in an important way and said that's basically ridiculous. You
Which
haven't
is table stakes for constitutional conservatives. I mean, that's kind of required to be one.
You have an interesting take that you think this is a response to his huge loss in the 11th Circuit last week.
It is, but I've been thinking a little more, and I think I'm glad you played the January 6th clip, because that was a good example of Trump doing what he means. There's this whole idea of, do you take Trump literally or seriously? I think we all know now that he says what he means, and when he says these things, to believe it. One of the sort of memos that was unearthed after January 6th revealed that he had a plan to potentially seize voting machines, have the defense secretary go after voting machines. So this kind of language and way of speaking, it goes beyond rhetoric. That's sort of my takeaway at this point.
You had an interesting reaction to what you said, January 6th. They played January 6th, right? When we were...
Well, I think beginning that mashup at January 6th just reminds you that people can invoke the Constitution while they're trying to shred it.
People can invoke the Constitution while they're trying to shred it. Now, this is an 8-minute and 37-second video. I'm not going to play the entire thing. We just played 3 minutes and 15 seconds. But I agree with what John Avalon says here. People can invoke the Constitution. They can read the Constitution word for word on the House floor while they're attempting to shred it, which is exactly what CNN does. And this is the psychological operation that works in the minds of the unthinking masses as they shelf their critical thinking and cement themselves into cognitive dissonance and believe every word that these people say, because people are buy-in to the left versus right paradigm lie, which is deadly by any metric. If you guys get something out of these videos and you want to see more, let me know. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell notification icon. Give it a thumbs up. Share it with everybody you know. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to my private email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. And if you want to support the channel further, grab one of these hard-hitting conversation-starting shirts you can get from the shirt store. You can put the design in any shirt, hoodie, mug, whatever. If you want to support even further, the Cash App, buy me a coffee and subscribe star in the description and in the pinned comment. I will see you guys in the next heavily censored shadow ban video.
While we have time and it still retains some of its perceived value, maybe it'd be a good idea to convert your worthless fiat into valuable, storable food. Don't be the one who waits till the food riots start happening. You don't want to be fighting panicking people in the store over that last jar of peanut butter. At Prepare with High Impact Flicks, you can get up to 3 air and watertight gasket sealed ammo cans, each filled with a 4-week emergency supply. 7 food varieties, 2,000 calories a day, 284 servings, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and each meal comes in a resealable, heavy-duty 4-layered pouch. And it's got a 25-year shelf life. Every order of a 4-week supply gets you $100 off plus free shipping. Here's how simple it is to make. I'm going to cook up some Granny's home-style potato soup. People are going to think I'm a culinary hero. You open the pouch, boil 4.5 cups of water, stir the contents, simmer on low heat for 15 to 20 minutes, take it off the heat, then let it set for 2 to 3 minutes before you serve it up.
Man, this stuff's so good. People are going to think Granny stopped by and filled your kitchen with a whole bunch of love.
Well, if Granny does stop by, she's going to fill your behind with a whole bunch of buckshot if you keep talking with your mouth full. Wipe your dang beard off. It's embarrassing. So maybe convert some of your worthless fiat into valuable food while you still can. Order now and get $100 off of up to 3 4-week emergency food supplies at preparewithhighimpactflix.com. The link is in the description.